Ah, beautiful. Okay. So, welcome everybody. My name is Connie Kadansky. I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona. In Arizona is the headquarters for Global Chamber. I've been a member for a few years now, and I'm thrilled to be the facilitator for the Sales Roundtable. We've had some exceptional presenters and leaders and trainers and coaches before today. And then we have, by popular demand, we have invited Colin Scotland back. And Colin, he is from Liverpool, England. And in 2020, I was a guest on a podcast. So I listened to the guest before me, and it was Colin. And I just really appreciated his tone, his expertise. He has mastermind marketing groups, and I have been in one for a few years now. So I'm thrilled to have Colin with us. And so today we're talking about how to use AI in the coaching field. And many managers and leaders are coaching their salespeople. And I'm going to share my screen. And then also, if anybody wants this sales enablement report from 2023, it is very insightful. I looked for a direct link this morning and could not find it. I have the PDF. So I'll put my email in the chat, and then you can email me, and I will email this sales enablement report to you because I found it very insightful. And then those of you that are listening to the recording, my email is connie@exceptionalsales.com. So just scoot over an email and I'll take care of that. So to tee this up, and before I turn this over to Colin, this is part of the sales enablement report, and where it's indicating that 57% of teams agree that their sales managers can coach them to help reinforce desired behaviors. However, listen to this, 44% are not confident in their manager's coaching ability. And when managers and leaders are coaching salespeople, the statistics that are, they have a 14 percentage point higher average. So that is some good data for us to know, and just insights in coaching salespeople. So I've been coaching salespeople for 28 years in a very specific area. And I know some of the salespeople do not like it when their managers go on meetings with them. They're kicking each other under the table. They don't have any kind of system. So anyway, I'll share that with you. And then I'm going to keep an eye on chat. So Colin, would you rather we hold questions as you go through here? And he's going to do a short presentation, and then we're going to he's going to show us some hands-on, and also take some questions from you in the audience on what to put in AI. So I would really welcome that too. So looking forward to it. So, okay, Colin, and it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Connie. It is delightful to be here and just to share some AI wisdom with you guys, some of my learnings and insights. And I very much love to make it as interactive as possible. So if you have questions, feel free to pop them into the chat. It's not a long presentation. I intend to make this interactive and engaging so that you can actually take this stuff and put it into practice. So that's the most, knowledge without action is kind of useless in that sense. So I love to share that with you guys in a way that you can take and then apply rather than it just be up here processing stuff. So yeah, feel free to drop into the chat, and I'm going to start just by sharing a few bits, and then we're going to get into some of the interactive stuff. So I'm going to share my screen. Can you guys see my desktop with the presentation there? Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome stuff. So I have two sayings when I start a AI presentation. The first one is further, faster, deeper. And the second one is better, faster, cheaper. And often when I was first in business school, I remember my professor at the time, and it was blackboards then. So none of these fancy technology whiteboard things. It was an actual blackboard with chalk. And I remember him drawing a triangle on the board. And on that triangle, he wrote, um, better, faster, cheaper. Like pick two. So when we look at that conundrum in business, you're able to have fast and cheap, but it's going to be expensive. You're able to have it, you're able to have fast and quick, but it's going to be expensive. You can kind of pick two out of those three. And now that's a kind of rule of business that I learned back in the day in business school. And what I've found in my experience with AI is it's breaking those rules, it's changing the game, and it's allowing us in business to do things better, faster, cheaper, and also to go further, faster, deeper in our processes as well. So hopefully today is going to give you some insights as to how you can apply that in your business. I'm going to just share a little bit about where we're at the moment with AI and the capabilities and limitations and what's possible with it right now. And then we're going to spend the rest of the session, the bulk of the session, in a hands-on experience where I'll just show you some wizardry. Hopefully you'll be fishing around the room for the top of your head because it'll have exploded off, and we'll take it from there. So just to introduce myself, I am Colin Scotland. I've lived many lives. I'm 49 years old right now. I was a lecturer in marketing for a time. I've built multiple seven-figure online businesses and failed miserably at the same time in all of the above. I was born in Liverpool. That's me with my little teddy bear when I was a little boy, a little teddy bear called Gaz. Um, I've been a avid technology guy since the get-go. So this is my homework from 1985, where I designed what I would argue is maybe even a precursor to one of the Macs that Steve Jobs came out with, so who knows, maybe there's a claim in there somewhere. I love to play the guitar. You will find me on Lake Windermere, kayaking and walking around the Lake District. Those two little people in the background are my kids. They're both grown up now, but that's them quite a few years ago on Lake Windermere up in the north of England. I was born in Liverpool, lived not far outside of there, loved to play the guitar, and that was me getting my brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu a couple of years ago as well. This is me in a single slide, right? And so I spent a number of years as a coach myself, and a couple of years back, I was really captured by the power of AI, what it brings to the table, what it allows us to do. And so I pivoted my business about 18 months ago and made it almost entirely AI focused. So I call myself now an AI marketing coach. And I take all of my life experience, and thank you for the compliment, Jacob. I appreciate that, my friend. And I apply that to the game of business. So I help entrepreneurs to uh, essentially leverage what they're doing through the power of AI now. We all know what Chat GPT is. We all know what AI is. We've all played with it at this point, or most of us. If not, then you are what's classed as a laggard, right? You're lagging behind the nowadays, everybody's at least played with Chat GPT. What I find is a lot of people have played with it, but they don't necessarily play with it in perhaps the most powerful way that they could do. They might drop a few prompts in there. They might ask it to help write in an email and things, but there's so much more potential in the AI, and I'm hopefully going to open your eyes to some of that today. The things that people miss a lot around what this AI is, and when we talk about AI here today, we're talking about what's called generative AI. AI has been around for a long time, but what's kind of changing things rapidly now is this space called generative AI, where it's actually creating something afresh, creating something new. So write me an email to Connie telling her how lovely it was to see her today at the Globinar. And so there's an element of AI coming up with something that didn't exist before. That's the element of generative AI. That's where that comes from. And this is why it's captured the attention of so many people, because it's able to create stuff that sounds human. But what a lot of people miss is the idea is the element that this AI, whilst it's very clever and whilst we can have it do all kinds of fancy things, it's an expert at pattern recognition. So if I ask it to write me an email to Connie, thanking her and saying how lovely it was to see her at the Globinar, it's going to take the pattern of what I've instructed it with, and it's going to replicate that pattern in how it produces content. So everything you put in very much dictates the quality of what you get out. So good in equals good out, right? And this is where the whole thing around prompt engineering comes in, and your ability to instruct the AI dictates 100% the quality of the content that you're going to get out. And so I've spent a lot of hours in that space learning how it works from that perspective and being able to manipulate the outputs. So rather than just typing in to ChatGPT, I would encourage you to think about context, giving the AI some kind of level of context, because you're giving it the pattern that it can recognize and extrapolate from. So the more pattern you give it, the better the outputs will become. And also another one that a lot of people miss is it's a beautiful thinking partner. And you'll see today some advanced applications of ChatGPT in particular. But if nothing else, think of it like having a critical friend sat at your side who is expert in everything under the sun, the whole knowledge of humanity, right? So I need help with my relationship. I need help with this sales process. I need help with this business growth plan that I'm working on. All of these things can be thought through with AI as well, if you think of it like that, rather than, hey, AI, give me something. Think of it more as a collaborative thinking partner. You get so much more out of it. One of the misnomers in the world of AI and Gen AI in particular is that it's going to replace us. So when it first came out, there was all this doomsday stuff around, the Terminator movie where AI takes over the world and destroys humanity. And in my experience, and I've lived in this world for almost a couple of years now, AI is not a replacement for humans. Whilst it's true that certain things that we do will change, just as in the typing pools of the offices of old no longer exist because typewriters aren't a thing in an office. Everybody's emailing now. Paper isn't a thing. So just as processes and systems evolve and change, AI is going to impact in a similar way to when email first came out. We no longer wrote longhand letters to each other. So it's going to impact in that way, but it's not going to change the fact that fundamentally, at its core, business is a human endeavor. Transaction is between people, and that never changes in the sales environment, in any environment inside a business. And so I liken ChatGPT to that little boy there looking up at the stars, longing to be on some distant planet and like being a space astronaut, And AI now is the rocket ship that's going to make that a reality. It's the accelerant that's going to take that boy into space, that's going to allow you to fulfill your dreams and make those things that you want to do and achieve in business more possible, easier, accessible, better, faster, cheaper, further, faster, deeper. Okay. So I'm going to give you guys a gift today. And it is what's called a custom GPT. So it's a highly customized version of ChatGPT. And I've called it Sales Coach GPT. So the theme of today's presentation is coaching sales professionals. And what I've done is I've taken all of the knowledge of what it takes to be a great salesperson, active listening, sales processes, techniques, strategies, frameworks, all of that good stuff. And I've packed it inside of a custom version of ChatGPT, which is what we're going to play with today, that acts as a coach or a mentor for a sales professional, anyone that has sales conversations. And again, this isn't a replacement for the coach. This is the accelerant for that coaching relationship and the thing that allows you to go further, faster, deeper. So we're going to play with that today. Whether it's this GPT or some of the stuff that I'm going to show you how to instruct AI anyway in that pattern recognition, thinking partner type of an approach, the idea is that there's no single best way to do any of this. It's a brand new field. There are methodologies literally being introduced every single day. But the beauty of this kind of an approach where you'll take something very specific to do a very specific job is it's more tailored. So if you've got you're coaching through a team of salespeople, then utilizing something like this alongside an actual coach, then it's going to act as, it's going to be that accelerant. So we're looking here at magnifying, amplifying, and doing more with what we've got rather than, hey, push the coach to the side, let's bring AI in to replace, right? It's a different mentality. It's a different mentality, and it's the way that you actually will get better results. Okay. So that's all I've got from the presentation point of view. Any questions before we move into the hands-on stuff?
I'm more just curious to see if you've played around with I was having some issues with ChatGPT. I don't know if you've had these with sometimes it's saying just being just rude and saying I can't do that. Going back through iterations, trying again. So that sent me to Google Gemini, the advanced version. I was trying to test that out. And so I'd love to hear if you've tried that yet and your opinions if you have.
Yeah, 100%. So for the last 3 weeks, I have a prompt vault. You mentioned AI PRM before, Matt, at the start of the call. I have what's called an AI prompt vault, which is 2,500 prompts engineered originally for ChatGPT. And that's a paid product that I offer. But over the last couple of weeks, I've been literally running head to head ChatGPT 4, Gemini Advanced, which is Google's LLM, Google's ChatGPT competitor, and Claude AI, which is Anthropic's, and they've just released Claude 3 Opus, the latest version, which has actually beat ChatGPT 4 on a lot of benchmarks. So here's the thing, right? I'm playing in ChatGPT today because I've created a customized version of it. You can't do that yet with Gemini or with Claude outside of the API stuff. So we're playing with ChatGPT today, but here's the kicker, right? In my tests so far, Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT is 3rd out of 3, right? So direct testing, Gemini, Claude, Chat, literally hundreds, and I've got 2,500 of these to get through, and I'm about over a third of the way through. So 500 prompts in, and ChatGPT is 3rd so far. So that tells you the race. But this is such a fast moving environment, Jacob, that we just don't know, because tomorrow OpenAI may release the next version and it will just knock the others out of the water. It's a moving equation, and I think
It's all
so
good
much is
for us, right?
beautiful for us, because now rather than just living in ChatGPT and maxing out the usage every 2 hours, I've got these 3 things sat side by side. And I'm actually, this morning I was playing one off against the other. So I would take the input from one and drop it as take the output from one and drop it into the input as onto another, and just allowing them to self-check and self-reference each other. So it was awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah, yes. So, okay, so feel free to speak up or put in chat anything that you would like to have Colin show us and hands-on. And so I'm going to start off here, Colin. I've been coaching a salesperson out of Ho Chi Minh City, and her challenge is that in, prospects that are coming to her through her company, they only want to stay on WhatsApp or and they're not willing to engage in a Zoom call or a personal conversation. And in that very first call, so it's kind of real awkward. And then the statistics are, and I just did a chat GPT on this, is that often digital communication is so sterile. There's no verbal cues that can be perceived as negative. So can you help us in that regard with her challenge of prospects who are not willing to jump on a so I'm repeating myself. Did you get my
Yep.
question?
Got
Okay,
it. I wasn't ignoring you. I was typing it into the GPT while you were sharing, Connie.
okay,
So, can you see my screen again?
yes.
Wonderful. Somebody
It's a
mentioned in the
little,
chat about
oh, there it goes. Okay, good.
you got it. Okay. Somebody mentioned in the chat about GPT-4 Turbo. It's only actually available via the API at the moment. It's not released in the tech. We're playing in the text interface of ChatGPT here. So this Sales Coach GPT, you do need a paid account with Chat to be able to use it. But I'm going to gift you guys a link to it so that you can play with it and access it. You do have to have a paid account to use it. And yeah, so when I'm saying that GPT-4, which is what this is built on at the moment, is third out of three with compared to Gemini and Claude. 4.5 could be released open use next week, and everything will change. And it is just one of those things. But like you say, Jacob, it's great for us because we just get to use the best in class every day, right? I'm literally like a kid in the candy store with this stuff. It's such good fun, such good fun. So this is Sales Coach GPT, and like I said, it's been trained on best practices for the sales conversation, so strategies, skills development, all of those kinds of things. And we're going to play with what Connie's just shared there. In here, you just type what you need help with, and the GPT has been trained on all of that stuff. So it's going to give you more focused help than if we were to just open a chat GPT window and ask the same question. So prospects coming through only want to stay on WhatsApp and not willing to engage in a personal conversation, making it awkward. How do we deal with this when there are no verbal cues? So I'm just going to ask that, right? I've given the GPT some context, and just going to see what we're just winging this now, just to have a bit of fun and see how the AI responds. So Connie, really would love to lean on your sales expertise here, right? And you can gauge the quality of the responses as a coach as to how appropriate, accurate, useful these things may be. So these things that is telling us here about active listening, open-ended questions, is this the kind of thing that you would advise or not?
Yes, and just scroll up a little bit because what I was coaching her on is adding emojis. So can you scroll up? I think the number 3, I mean up to, yes, use emojis and or images, and she's just a lovely person, a young salesperson, and she's got a real bubbly personality. And so that's what we came up with without asking Chat GPT. So I would love to hear from anyone else that is with us today, other participants, on what they're seeing here too, because she really is asking them. And I always teach the no question. Are you opposed to jumping on a quick call so we can answer all your questions at once? So using a no question, which is actually a yes, instead of what's your schedule like? And that did improve by just saying, are you opposed to jumping on a quick call and I can answer all your questions at once? And using an emoji, it hasn't been 100%, because what she's finding is all they want is pricing. So that could be another issue here. And so I'll pause there. And if anybody else wants to jump in, love to hear from you.
Okay, so I've just I've just iterated the conversation by saying they only seem interested in pricing. Okay. So to allow the GPT to tailor its response based around that. And here it's talking about reframing the conversation. So it's value focused, understanding their needs and budget, offering flexible solutions. So the idea with this is it's not a do and you're done kind of an approach. And the best way to get the best results is to iterate and play and keep iterating and playing through different variations on this. Now, we can play with lots of different examples, and I just want to share. But before I do, is that would you say that's pretty accurate, Connie?
Yes, yes. So again, acknowledging their concern, and I I always tell people, get the I out of it. Just it seems like pricing is a significant factor for you instead of saying I understand. Because when we do say I understand, that it doesn't help them at all. And even the question of putting pricing aside, what else is important? And so again, in trying to invite, and it's engaging a small percentage by putting pricing aside. So maybe what I'm thinking here, and again, love to hear from the sales leaders in the audience of maybe it's just truly filtering out a qualified prospect that is not just price shopping, or in the US, we say kicking tires.
So maybe that's another question for the GPT, right? How do we filter the tire kickers in the process? And
Yeah,
potentially that's another thing that we can do. So this is where the AI alone would never come up with that question or that thing. So the idea is that the back and forth is what creates. That's why I wanted to make this very hands-on, because it is very much in the back and forth that we create the magic. We create the magic with AI as our partner. We don't go, hey, AI, solve my problem, and it solves the problem. It's a different way of thinking. So that could potentially be a great way just to continue that conversation. But I'm gonna just move forward. I just wanted to clarify, Yuka, you mentioned about accessing GPT Turbo. That we're just talking here about regular end user where they're just using the text-based interface of ChatGPT, not the playground or the API or any of those things. So we're keeping it super simple and super straightforward. The custom GPT is the thing that at the moment, through the text-based interface, you need a paid account for. So just to clarify that. And then I wanted to share this with you. When we talk about coaching and training using the AI, and I mentioned about AI being an expert in pattern recognition, it is so important that you give AI context and share with it the patterns that help it to get you to that place that we just got to in that example with Connie there, of asking the right questions. And so a really great thing that you can do is I love the 16 personalities test. So 16personalities.com. This is my profile. I'm an advocate personality type. And I know in the sales arena, there are lots of these things like disc profiles, strength finder, so many different ones. It doesn't matter which one you use. ChatGPT knows about all of them, right? So it's not biased to any particular one. This is just the one that I like to use. So here, what you can do, this is an example chat I did earlier. I wrote into the GPT that I am an advocate personality type. Please create a tailored learning plan for me to improve my active listening skills. So if we are a coach and we're coaching sales professionals, or anybody in that, from that perspective, right? Then by giving ChatGPT that information, ChatGPT can create what's called differentiated learning or tailored structured learning plans for team members using that input that you give them. So you can create very personalized learning journeys based on the input that you give the AI. So here you can see, given that my personality type is good at empathy and intuition and a desire to help, it also knows what my my weaknesses are as well. And so it will create something very tailored to me, to something that's going to help me develop the skills in a way that suits my learning style, my personality. So then I've just asked it to suggest specific learning resources, because in week 1, if I want to get better, I'm not a sales professional, by the way, caveat, in case you haven't already guessed. That's why we've got the wonderful Connie here. So my expertise is in marketing and Gen AI. And so I said, oh, well, tell me what the books are that I should be reading. What should I be looking at in week 1 of this learning plan? So I asked that in the next part of the conversation. And then it suggested Just Listen by Mark Goulston, The Lost Art of Listening, a couple of books, a couple of TED Talks, a couple of online courses and things that we can access. So I found it really helpful just in creating that tailored journey. So yeah, really, really, really quite useful. Liu, you have your hand raised. Did you want to ask a question? Do you want to unmute and ask?
Yes, hi there. Thank you very much for sharing this. I was going to bring a different perspective to Connie's question there. I myself is a coach. I'm an intercultural management career coach. So working especially on the intercultural aspect. I wonder there is a cultural issue in like try to sell to people in different countries, because
Yes.
a lot of our sales pitch or sales formula developed in the UK, in Europe, in US are quite European central based. While even myself, I struggle sometimes to sell to people in Asia or to the Chinese, my fellow people, because they think differently. So like Tony said, the price sensitivity is quite a key issue. They like better bargain.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's why they will ask the price first. And I actually lost a few sales. But as soon as they see the price, they just drop out. They will not tell you why and how. Obviously, the price is not something they want to afford or they can afford. I think the more the issue they want to afford, because those people, if they want to buy a Louis Vuitton bag, they can buy it, but they don't see the importance of paying for a coaching program. So I think that the cultural issue is something you can train. I have been using 2 of them as well, but I have also another like linked with the program. Is ask the cultural perspective in AI to say maybe we can try it here to say
Yeah, go on.
In the Vietnamese culture we can say what would be like a rephrase Connie's question and put into context like you said, what would you do in the Vietnamese culture, see what he says.
So that's a really interesting point. And one of the things that I was working on with a client just a few weeks back is creating cultural context. So understanding mores and values and norms of a specific culture to give you that cultural context in which you're communicating. If you are a native of Vietnam, then you automatically understand that cultural context. If you are operating from a different cultural perspective, that changes everything, doesn't it, Lou? You know, so I think we have to always take these things into account. One of the things that I would do in this instance, if it was a specific geographic region or a cross-cultural thing, then is to actually include this in the training, like you say, include it in the training of the GPT, so that you are giving it that initial context. If it's always the case, then it can be included, and there could be a GPT for Vietnam, a GPT for China, you know, and you've got these different regional specific approaches. Let's see what it's given us there. I wasn't reading that. Let's see what it says. So building strong personal relationships, showing respect for cultural norms and practices. When a prospect is focusing primarily on pricing and communication, can make a significant difference. Show respect and patience, emphasize relationship building. How accurate would you suggest that is?
Largely, largely speaking, it is very helpful, but when it comes to applying it, it takes a lot of more nuances in there. That's where it like Connie said, if a lot of the communication. The Vietnamese culture in the cultural term called high context culture,
Yeah.
similar
Yeah.
to Chinese.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meaning they communicate relying on a lot of uncoded messages, unspoken cues, and facial expression. All those, like if you only use WhatsApp, it's very hard to pick it up. Therefore, you're missing a large part of the communication or large part of message. So it is definitely a challenge. So
It's always going to be, isn't it, with something like if it
mm,
was WhatsApp, for example, because it is that much detached from the usual
that
interaction.
that's right. And plus, bearing in mind, they are communicating with you in a second language.
Mm,
Yeah, that's add another layer of complexity.
yes.
Yeah, because I was coaching a client in a German client. He's based in Hong Kong, and his wife, a Chinese wife, is suspecting him of having an affair with his secretary. I figured out actually. I asked him to explain to me why, and he said, "Oh, I explained to my wife." I said, the client said, "I explained to my wife. I like her as a colleague. I like her as a secretary. She performs very well." I said, "Stop there." I say, in Chinese language, people don't say I love you. So the word like, more or less, you declare your passion, your feeling to the secretary, even if there's nothing. So that's how your wife read it. So see what I mean? So there's a lot of nuances
Mm,
how it can be really powerful.
yes, definitely, definitely. And I think that's where we have to be nuanced in the way that we use the technology, don't we? We have to adapt and ensure that it takes those things into account. And of course, there's a difference as well between knowledge and action. So you mentioned that these things are helpful but not very practical, and so I think this is where it takes an a nuanced approach to interacting with the AI in order to get practical steps. And where I see a lot of people falling down is that team members will be utilizing AI, people who use for whom English is a second language, using the AI and then blindly implementing the things that the AI says, blindly saying these things to clients and customers. And actually it's the worst thing that you can do because it misses all of what we're talking about here. It misses so much. So much is lost in interpretation, lost in translation. And so this is where I think it's critical that we mustn't lose the human element in this. And I think it's so important.
Yes. You know, Yuka has a question or comments. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, but feel free to speak up and share. Is it YUKA?
Yeah, my name is Yuka. I'm kind of hearing all what you're talking about. I'm in the crossroads because I am implementing AI solutions. I'm from language industry. I'm the localization specialist, so I deal with the market differences. I mean, language differences, cultural intelligence, cultural differences. So what Liu was saying, this is what exactly I'm tackling as a professional. I mean,
Wonderful. Would love to hear your input on that, Yuka.
when you GPT or other LLM, if you ask in that language and the prompt is in that language and they have sufficient knowledge, sufficient content in the system, they can create directly in that language. That's the best way you can tackle. So if you want to create, for example, Japanese content, I would ask in Japanese in GPT the same question. I don't translate. That's the best way you can do. And fortunately, Japanese is it's not too bad, but I can see sometimes GPT translates. So what you need to do is check the content. I mean, this kind of tool is a tool to, let's say, elevate your productivity. It's not something that to do that you don't know. I mean, what you know, it can help you to do faster. That's the thing they do. So you have to be the domain expert so that when GPT creates something stupid, you know exactly what mistakes it made. Does it make sense? So
Bravo, total sense.
yeah, so if you are a coach in that language, I encourage you to create the questions in that language to extract the answer in that language. Otherwise, it's going to be a little too maybe too, I don't know how to say it. That it's not usable, I think. And because I'm a localization specialist, I know that Asian countries are very high context culture, like Lilu said. So there are lots of things that we wouldn't say that maybe GPT would say. Does it make sense? So that's how it works. And as Colin said, their country or region specific LLM coming up, like Europe, we are talking about open source European thing. And I've been putting something in the chat box. What I'm using is a tool to not getting married to just one brand of LLM like GPT or Gemini or whatever. When if you use something agnostic to the brand, you can switch the, let's say, created prompts to use another engine very quickly, just one click, actually. So that's what I wanted to say. And I know that you don't want to complicate the thing, but actually it's not complicated because user interface is much easier than ChatGPT.
What's the tool,
So
Yuka?
it is called Promptitude. So it's like GPT subscription. You can upload the content and you can create your answer from the content you upload. And it's exactly the same, but it's brand agnostic, and it's very, very cheap. It's starting from free.
Yuka, could you please put that in chat just so that everybody gets that resource?
Wonderful. And yeah, thank you so much for the input and help and the input there, Yuka, because obviously what we're talking about here is this context is US, European focused predominantly because we're talking in English, making all of those cultural assumptions in that sense. So it's really important, I think, Yuka, that, you know, for those different contexts that you take a slightly different approach again. And I loved how you said that you are the domain expert, you are the guide of this. And I think that was my point exactly when I shared the picture of the boy looking up into the stars, because the idea here is that the AI is the accelerant of us, but we are the guide, and we are we corral the AI to that place of wonder and of magic with what we do. So thank you so much for your input.
Well, and I just want to check on that because is that I mean, I'm looking at the website that with that prompt, and I'm just want to make sure that that was the one that, if that's correct, if you typed it correct. So thank you. That was really
I
insightful.
think it's, is it Promptitude with a P? Is that the right website, Yuka?
Yeah,
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And I think I'm going to do a kind of webinar on a global chamber about this because
Wonderful.
yesterday I was talking to executive directors, and I'm using actually to create the content for global chamber using this and uploading all the document from global chamber, and it's very, very fast and easy. And you can
Oh,
even create a page to just not even prompt, just question, ask question. So
oh, that is
I'm
so
going to be
awesome.
doing webinar soon.
Okay,
Wonderful.
I'm gonna watch out for that one. Thank you. Wow, that's why these Globinars, and then Jacob put the correct one in there with that extra. So, any
Thank you,
other
Jacob.
questions? Where I'm looking here, we've got a few more minutes. Questions?
You know, I would love to see. So, Colin, I put in the chat. You know, whenever so not all the time, but you know, often, you know, because I see this technology as a safe place to test your imaginative ideas and really, you know, go all in but add in practicality and reality and all that just by saying those words.
Yeah.
But you know, how could what I always love to see is like how can things be innovated? How can things be improved or enhanced? And so, you know, what I think I added in the chat about, you know, what could be a way that, you know, I'm not a sales coach, but like me as a sales coach, how could I differentiate myself as an innovator in the field and improve and enhance sales coaching?
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay. So I'm going to share. You can still see my screen. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. This is the prompt vault that I was talking to you about, but I'm going to share another one with you, Jacob, that does
Mm,
exactly that. And
cool.
it's basically about finding that USP, that unique value proposition. Um, and it's a prompt called USP Explorer. So let me just grab you this.
Oh, cool.
And what this will do, this doesn't use Sales Coach GPT. I'll just open up GPT-4 and I'll paste the prompt in here. So this prompt will guide you through the process of figuring that stuff out. So figuring out how you can stand out, what makes you different, what makes you unique, how are you separate in the marketplace? We're talking my wheelhouse now, right? That we're into marketing, right? But yeah, how can you differentiate you in the marketplace and create something entirely unique? So there's one there called USP Explorer, and then another one, and I'll share these with you, Jacob. If you message me on LinkedIn, I'll just send you the links. And
Cool.
there's
Yeah,
another
no.
one called Niche Navigator as well, which will help you find a very specific pathway
Yeah, cool.
to what makes you different and unique in the marketplace. So this is a custom GPT, just like the Sales Coach GPT, but it's called Niche Navigator, and this will help you. So there's one of the prompts there. Help me understand what's unique. They're just simple starting prompts, but you obviously need to give it that pattern and context, and then it will
Mhm.
take. I do a lot of work around ikigai. You know that the concept of finding vocation and passion,
Mhm.
and living your why and all of that good stuff. So it's programmed with that, and it will help you go through that process. Here's who I am. Here's who I serve. Here's the transformation I deliver. How can I find, a unique space in all of that, or in something different?
That's incredible. And I'd love to chat offline, of course, too, but just to talk about and maybe share some interesting custom GPT ideas I have with you for you to potentially run with. But
Would love
uh,
that. Yeah, would
yeah,
love that. Would love that.
Yeah.
Is that helpful? Does that answer the question?
Very helpful. Thank you. I love the niche navigator. That's so cool.
Thank you so much. You're welcome, man. And yeah, just pick direct. Obviously, the Sales Coach GPT will come out with the resources, the replay, the slides, but that one won't. So just message me on that, and I'll ping you a direct link. Okay. And then there's another one just on the theme of Sales Coach training, which is a Sales Coach Simulator. So this is one that I created. This is a prompt I created that will essentially make Chat GPT. Let me just start a new chat. Not with Niche Navigator. And this will basically put you into a scenario planning. So if we take the situation of your client, Connie, it's a WhatsApp conversation, and we're dealing with somebody who just wants to talk about price, and we give it all of that contextual information. And this will basically act as it'll mimic the dialogue of another human. So, can you tell me what it is that you'd like to discuss, and how might we help you do X? And you get to practice your responses in a simulated environment. So there's more than we could cover in a short session like this, but there are just so many, almost infinite possibilities with the technology now. And this is literally why it just gets me so excited, because every time we talk about this, and this is why I love keeping it open, because you guys are experiencing and learning and playing with this just as much as I am, and so it's like, it's really enlightening. It's just such a fun journey. Journey.
It is. And again, we'll be happy to take questions. Christopher, what's coming up for you from this presentation?
There's so much to take away from this presentation, and I appreciate what Colin just said, that it seems like this is a working group. I'm looking at all the people in this group, and their heads are into their, let me check this out, and we're listening at the same time we're engaged. This is probably one of the best series that I've seen with Global Chamber. So you asked what's going on for me. So tomorrow we have a very unique opportunity to have a meetup in Texas. So we have a Texas meetup, but you don't have to be from Texas to be in our meetup. So you can go to the globalchamber.org and look at the events calendar. You're more than welcome to hear some of the business leaders from Austin, Houston, and San Antonio. And then earlier in the morning, I have an event with the Young Leaders Americas program, which is it's really great. We actually have 14 new chamber members that are coming in from the various parts of North America, South America. And so we have, for the young global leaders, the ability to learn how to network in the USA. And so I'll be training the fellows tomorrow at University of Texas. And you all are invited to. You're young global leaders. Look at you. You're all young global leaders. So you can sign up, and thank you for asking the question. But great job today. Super job, Connie. I can see why you rock. Thank you so much.
And thank you. And then Christopher, if you're ever looking for a presenter for some of your groups, Colin's a member of the Global Chamber, and it just is very enlightening. So yes, thank you. And then just to share with you, as a sales coach, I'm coaching a seasoned financial advisor who also has a black belt. And I'm a sales call reluctance coach. So I coach people that have that hesitation to promote themselves. And, they're just kind of not comfortable and confident, really proactively promoting. And so when I found out he was a black belt, I actually asked ChatGPT, and just to give me some insight as the coach of how can I help him transfer his mental and emotional skills that he learned as a black belt into this different context. Now, that's been my expertise for 28 years, and it totally enlightened me because he's a real thinker. So when you have puzzling questions with it's anybody that you're coaching or want to be as a leader or whatever, that's another. And going back to what Jacob shared today, it just created my innovation on expanding that. So, did that make sense?
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
That's like a similar approach. So the pattern recognition part is so important and people often miss it. And you've landed right on it there, Connie, with that example. Just like we take our 16 personalities and then ask it to create a tailored learning plan, doing that very same, giving it that context and that pattern. This guy is a black belt in X martial arts. And how can I make this relatable to him in this context? So powerful. I love that.
Yeah,
That is why
yeah.
you are a superstar, Connie.
Thank you. And I want to thank you. I don't know if Yuka's still here. Thank you for everything she shared, for your questions, because it just takes us further. So, yes, so Jacob, thank you, Jacob. And then also, everybody here, we have a sales roundtable once a month, and we are looking for more salespeople expertise that have a very specific expertise in the changing of the sales game. So feel free. I'm going to go ahead and put my and if you even if you feel if Connie at Exceptional Sales Performance feel I can't talk and speak at the same time. Email me and just introduce me to somebody. So we're looking for people just like Colin that has a very specific expertise that will help salespeople. And the newer it is, the more integrated it is into this global mindset and community. So we did anyway, just all welcome any kind of introductions. We'll have conversations there so that we can continue to have this really good sales programming. So think about that. And Colin, thank you. Any last words of wisdom? Matt, before we go, I know you came on and were sharing initially, what is something you're taking away today?
Well, just to make this part of my practice. So I liked what Jacob said. I think he said it in the chat about using ChatGPT to ideate and kind of bounce ideas off of. I use it, a lot for that. It's simple and it's not complicated at all, but it's very effective. And I think that especially if you work remotely, you can be your own little echo chamber, and you don't have people to bounce things off of. So I think that's going to be very helpful. But then, having been a sales manager for 20 years, I think ChatGPT and the tools that Colin shared is a lot more eloquent and efficient than I am. So I wish they had that 30 years ago.
Yes, okay. I know they always want us to live at the top of the hour. They usually have another program. So Jacob, I'll look forward to hearing from you and more things like this. So Colin, again, thank you, thank you, thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks so much, guys. Lovely to see you all. Take care.
Bye bye. So long.